Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. I'm Mike B, and today we're going to be doing a remake of a video I did a couple years back about one of my favorite topics. I see there's a lot of new subscribers in between the time I made my last video and now. So there's a lot of you that actually ask about this quite frequently in random helmet videos, whether it be ballistic tests or whatever. So I'm going to actually cover this again and try to do a little bit better job than I did last time with the visuals and the editing. Have a little bit better setup, a little bit better lighting. Sorry, it's still kind of glary because of all the snow in the background and stuff. I tried to mitigate that with a ring light, but anyway, it's the best I can do, and you'll still be able to get the picture. So, we're going to talk about the three main styles of World War II German helmets, or Stahlhelme, and the three main styles, of course, I know there were a couple more somewhat experimental and somewhat mythical variants that were used in the older versions and this police and fire, but the three main versions of the combat helmet and what the differences were and why those differences happened. So in 1935, this boy right here, the M35, was adopted. Now, this was a scaled down version of the World War I Stahlhelm, but still retained that iconic Stahlhelm look, which is what the German High Command wanted. It was lower profile, a little bit lighter weight, and very much more streamlined production-wise, used less material, but still retained that look, so we had this as the result. A couple things changed from the 16 to the 35, or the 18 to the 35. Specifically, the big vent lugs were replaced by just a single little piece right here. It was a separate piece that was in the air vent hole that just barely stuck out. I'll try to move this so you can see. If you're looking at the front, obviously those aren't the big lugs like they had in the First World War to attach that Stirnpanzer plate on the front. They did away with that. They thought it was unnecessary and it was a waste of money, which I would tend to agree with. So what you have is you have this separate little air vent hole. Now that is a telltale sign and feature of a Model 35 like this. These are all going to be original helmets that you're going to be seeing today. None of these are going to be reproductions, so this is what they actually look like. I can do another video at a later date of like how to tell the difference between reproductions. It's really not that hard if you have a trained eye. You can actually just spot the shape from a mile away. But I'm just letting you know these are all going to be three originals today, so I'm going to get that out of the way. Now, the two main features of, I'm going to keep it nice and simple from here on out. I'll stop rambling. All right. An M35 is going to have this vent hole that's a separate piece right there, as you can see. You notice how it's actually a stamped, pressed in there piece instead of just being part of the shell itself. So that's a telltale sign. Other telltale sign is going to be what's called a rolled edge. You can see how the edge, or maybe you can see if I can stop being crappy at the camera, is rolled and crimped underneath itself to make it less sharp. It's a lot more dull, so you won't get cut on it. It's not uncomfortable. It won't dig into your neck as much if you are like laying prone or whatever. But this is a very time-consuming and kind of tedious process to do. This was done on all three models of the World War I Stahlhelm, but it was also done on the M35. So it's actually a really nice feature that's done on most helmets when you're not fighting a massive war on several different fronts. Now we're going to move on to the Model 40. Behold the Model 1940 Stahlhelm. As you can see, it looks very similar to the Model 35, but by 1940 they realized that a lot of things, not only just helmets, but gear in general, needed to be more streamlined in production to allow for more numbers, decrease in materials used, and labor required. Basically, speed things up, save more material. So in 1940, they actually changed the combat helmet to have the vent hole actually be a part of the shell itself. It's actually stamped into the shell. We're going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see that. It's actually, like you saw on the M35, you can tell it's a separate piece. This is not. This is just a little bulge that still retains the kind of aesthetic thing of the Stahlhelm. It's not really necessary. You could just pop a hole in there, but they wanted that kind of bulge to make it look like the old vent hole from World War I or whatever. But anyway, this streamlined production actually quite a bit and saved on material costs because that extra little piece didn't have to be manufactured and take up more metal and whatever like that, or steel. So this one also retained the rolled edge like the M35. So that was still a very laborious and time-consuming, tedious process. This is a really nice example of the rolled edge on a 1940 single decal Luftwaffe. Got this from a viewer a couple years ago. We worked out a deal. He didn't want it anymore, and I did. So I forgot who you were. I'm sorry about that. It's been a while, but thank you so much. It's still part of my collection and probably always will be. So yeah, really quick, basic, too long, didn't read, don't want to watch, but you're gonna want to know anyways. Just a 1940 is going to have a rolled edge with a stamped vent hole. So 1942 rolls around and the German military needs a lot more equipment, and they need to kind of streamline processes even more to allow for the equipment of many more people than they expected at the beginning. By 1942, the war was open on several different fronts. They needed a lot more material and they were not keeping up with demand. So in 1942, they retained having the vent hole still stamped as a part of the shell, but as you can see, the edge is not rolled underneath. And I'll take this off and show you really quick. Remember on the other ones, it was rolled nicely underneath? Well, this one was just flared out and trimmed, and it's what's called a raw edge. You can see that it sticks out from the side. If you look at it from the forward angle, it sticks out, whereas the M40 or M35, like you can see here, goes underneath and doesn't have that flare on it. So that's really the quickest way you can tell on an M40, or I'm sorry, from an M35 to an M40 to the M42. So they still use the same kind of steel and everything on this. It's just that you can tell that the shape is still there, but it's really, really mass produced in a very quick and short amount of time. So anyway, yeah, that's the three main, or the six, I guess, main differences on these three different models. So basically, let's just recap. The model 1935, nice rolled edge underneath here, and then we got the separate piece for the air vent. The model 1940, so we still got the nice rolled edge underneath here, but this air vent hole is now stamped directly into the shell and is no longer a separate piece of metal. And last but not least, the model 1942. You've got this nice raw flared out edge, but still trimmed, and the vent hole is still stamped directly into the shell. So I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I certainly love teaching people about this. German helmets are, of course, probably some of the most popular, specifically World War II originals. Very hard to get nowadays, very expensive. It's taken me years to get to this point in my collection, but it's really fun, and don't lose hope. So anyway, I'll try to center on these or zoom out a little bit. There, get them all the little family right there in the family photo. So anyway, all right, I'll stop messing with this and just get to the point. I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you got any more questions. Again, this is just the absolute basic differences in the shells. So if you're looking at one of these, like at an antique store or at a garage sale, you'll know at least what model it is and if it's German or not. They're all gonna have these three liner split pins, we call them. They're all gonna be round like this, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, and then they're gonna have the respective air vents. So if you see any more than that, it's probably not a German one, or it was probably modified somehow later on. But an original World War II German one's gonna have those features most of the time. I forgot to mention that in the video, but hey, it's I can only do so much. I'm so obsessed with these things. But anyway, I'll try to get into like the more of the details of like the paint, when the decals kind of became more not common in the field and what branches and stuff like that. Let me know if you want to see those kind of videos. If you enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments. And also, you know, just the typical like, subscribe if you like this video. And also there's the option to support me financially, either becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon supporter. On $5 a month or more on either method gets you into my Discord server, so there's that. Anyway, so check that out. I love making these videos. If you want to see more World War II German helmet content, let me know. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.